Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and welcome aboard the Eastern Express. In this episode, we're diving into one of the most intense professions on the planet, being a sniper on the front lines of the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, snipers are not your everyday soldiers. They're the ones who stay hidden for hours, sometimes even days, just waiting for the perfect moment to take a shot that could change the course of a battle.
Tens of thousands of Ukrainian citizens abandoned their homes and families in order to answer their homeland's call when it needed them most. Ordinary people put their lives on hold and sacrificed everything to defend their country from the unlawful Russian aggression. Their life on the front line is, as one could predict, far from comfortable. Deprived of basic amenities, they are forced not only to endure seemingly endless losses, exhaustion, hunger and lack of ammunition, but also to diligently counter any Russian military activity. There is no room for error. This statement rings especially true in the case of Ukrainian snipers, who often only get a chance to take a single shot. A mistake, a miss, would inevitably reveal the shooter's position, putting his life in immediate danger. Despite the best efforts of Ukrainian soldiers, snipers included, the full-scale war is now in its third year. 2 years of war have depleted Ukraine's ammunition and manpower, while the country's failed counteroffensive last year sank morale. There is only so much snipers can do without proper backing. Ukraine's top military leaders openly admit that the battlefield situation on the Eastern Front has deteriorated. Not only does Ukraine have to endure constant Russian shelling and drone attacks, but its troops are often unable to fight back in any meaningful way because their ammunition supplies would quickly run out. That is why sniper units are so vital on the front line. One well-placed sniper can be the much-needed advantage during fighting. Often outnumbered, they pick off Russian aggressors one by one. When Ukraine's Western allies have issues with providing Ukraine with arms, Ukrainian soldiers are left to themselves. The longer this goes on, the less chance there is of successfully stopping Russia's aggression.
And now, let's take a look at the issue in greater detail. Now imagine this, you're steering through a sniper scope. Your target is over a mile away and you have just 4 seconds from pulling the trigger to impact. That's a reality for Ukraine's elite snipers. With their lives on the line, these marksmen are rewriting the playbook on modern warfare. Picture a war zone that's been torn apart by months of relentless conflict. The ground is scarred by artillery shells and the air is thick with tension. This is the Ukrainian front line, a place where every decision can mean the difference between life and death. The Ukrainian snipers operating under these conditions are tasked with some of the most critical missions. Now, you might be wondering, what does it take to be a sniper in such a high-stake environment? Well, it requires an extraordinary level of skill, patience, and nerves of steel. These snipers must account for factors like wind speed, bullet drop, and even the Earth's rotation. They rely on their spotters to provide real-time data and ensure that each shot is as accurate as possible. This isn't just about pulling a trigger, it's a complex calculation that requires intense focus and precision. The life of a sniper isn't just about taking shots from afar. They often work in incredibly close proximity to the enemy. Now, this proximity means that they're always at risk of being discovered, and one wrong move can lead to their position being compromised. This constant threat requires them to adapt their tactics continuously. This movement is crucial for staying one step ahead of the enemy and ensuring that they remain undetected. And let's not forget the psychological toll that this takes. The pressure to make every shot count, the isolation, the constant danger, all adds up. These snipers are highly skilled professionals who have to manage their mental health under extreme conditions. They face the grim reality of their actions, knowing that each pull of the trigger could mean the end of another human life. It's a heavy burden, but one that they bear with remarkable resilience. But why are snipers so vital to this conflict? In a war dominated by artillery, tanks, drones, and cruise missiles, snipers provide a unique advantage. They're the unseen eyes and ears on the battlefield, capable of gathering intelligence and taking out high-value targets without drawing attention. Snipers stand as a powerful reminder of the complexities of war and the remarkable individuals who navigate its harsh realities. Their role is often overlooked, but is absolutely essential for the success of many military operations. Supporting these soldiers means recognizing the complex nature of modern warfare and the pivotal role that snipers play in it. And now, here to shed more light on the issue is the Italian Stallion, an active sniper who's gathered his fair share of experience in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Hello, sir, and welcome to Eastern Express.
Hi, everyone.
So, first of all, really like your call name, and I'm also wondering if you can tell us some of the highlights and challenges in your active duty.
Well, sniper work nowadays is very hard because it's very high intensive conflict. And if we're talking about our job, now it became much harder than it was, for example, a few years ago when it wasn't so high scheduled fighting, because too many drones are up there. It's hard to hide. It's hard to get to the point where you can work. So it's pretty dangerous work. And it's a pity, but lots of snipers are already wounded or dead.
Right, like you mentioned, the intensity of the conflict is also bringing drones into the mix is going to make things a bit more difficult. I'm wondering, when it comes to the technology fronts, they have drones. Are there any upgrade in technologies that you guys have access to in order to counteract some of the risks?
Well, to be honest, I know that our engineers and our volunteers working always on how to make some anti-drone things. Some fighting against signal, if we can say it so. It's upon people. I think government also try to find out something, but I don't know exactly because I'm not on the high level. I'm just an ordinary fighter. And what I see it that always we and our enemy trying to make some new things, to get some privilege in fighting. And war always develop weapons. It always develop different things. That's why it never stops.
All right, and when it comes to the line of work as a sniper, generally in pop culture, there's probably some misconception of people imagining the work of a sniper. Do you know any of these kind of misconceptions where people think it's one way, but in reality, in your line of work, in your service, is another?
Yeah, of course, of course. Many people think that we wear dye papers, like we don't go to toilet. It's like lots of myth that sometimes people think that we shoot in the head, like the sniper shoot in the head, but it's a myth because every sniper works, military sniper, I mean, he works in the center of mass. So usually you don't shoot the head, but people always, when think about sniper, they always say that, oh, sniper is the guy who shoot into the head, but no, it's not. And also it's not about the shooting. It's not about the shooting. It's about reconnaissance. It's about finding some things, maybe some coordinates of enemy's techniques, enemy positions. So it's not only about the shooting. You can have good position for shooting, but making no shots because you won't come back. And it's stupid to shoot one guy and then be dead by artillery or mortar. That's why our work is not only shooting. It's much more about reconnaissance. You should be you should have high level of endurance to go through many kilometers with the rifle, but sometimes you can't even shoot. You just watch, you give the info to your partners, and then you decide what to do.
Right, so there's actually a lot of groundwork to be done before actually taking the shot. A lot of people kind of focus on the pulling of the trigger, but there's a whole process, a whole project there. Can you help us understand in your line of work when it comes to the mental aspect of it? You're talking about like endurance. How long do you usually have to go when it comes to carrying out a particular job?
Well, it depends on situation. For example, when I worked in Robotina, when counterattack was last summer, I went like 10 kilometers one way because car couldn't go through, and you should move 10 kilometers to the point, and then after the work, you should go 10 kilometers back, and all this with heavy bag, with a rifle, with ammunition. So yeah, you should be ready to go through. Of course, sometimes it can be 3 kilometers. It depends on line where you work, you know. But mostly snipers are those guys who go lots of kilometers to find the position, to have position for watching. That's why it's pretty hard work, and it's pretty dangerous because sometimes, for example, I knew one girl. She was a sniper in one brigade of armed forces of Ukraine, and she just lost her leg because she just went to some forest where she shouldn't been, you know. And that's the point, that sometimes you go through in the places that you better won't go, but you don't have choice. You should help your partners, you should help the guys who fight in the infantry, find out some info. That's why you go through the hard places.
Right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the service that you are doing. And we're also curious about the psychological aspect of your job. Do you think that the long distance of work of a sniper between you and your target makes it easier to pull the trigger? I'm not talking about like logistically, but psychologically.
I don't think, you know, to be honest, it does matter. Will you shoot from 100 meters or you will shoot from 1200 meters? It does matter. The thing is, maybe then when you shoot further, you may not know the final result exactly. You know, you can just shoot the target, but you don't understand before you get some info about the target. Is he dead or is he hardly wounded? Of course, when you shoot in 150 meters, 95% you know already, is he done or not, you know. But mentally, I think it doesn't matter at all. The distance doesn't mean anything. But also, this also a myth for people, you know, they think that we always work like 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters. But no, it depends on situation. For example, in city, usually you work like less than 300 meters. In the field, of course, there were a video before, there were 1,016 meters range. It's pretty long, I think. I think everything which is further than 1 kilometer is further distance. So
All right, thank you for bringing that up to our attention because that really sheds a light on like how many different things are factoring into this. Again, like we were saying, not just pulling the trigger, but laying out the entire logistics of this. I'm curious about what inspired you and what motivated you to take up this line of work.
well, you know, it's hard to say about inspiration of this. I think that it's not about my specialty only. I think now it's not the question of anyone's specialty. It's a question of dignity. It's a question of fighting for liberty, and our fighting for liberation of Ukraine. It should be effective. Sometimes I can be honest with you. Sometimes I'm not very effective, and snipers nowadays sometimes are not very effective because game changed, and of course we've got some privileges in the city, but we've got some problems now in the fields. That's why I don't think that inspiration is right work. I think it's not even the choice what we do. It's not the choice. It's just a mission. It's just a task for us to fight for independence, fight for the country. That's my thoughts are.
All right, even though you said that for you, that is probably not the right word, I'll say on my behalf that your call to fight for dignity, to fight for the freedom, to fight for liberty is indeed an inspiration to the rest of us here. Meanwhile, I'm also curious about how you go about balancing your personal life with the line of work you do. As you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of logistic and sometimes it takes a very long time just to establish a position. Do you think that that is going to have a significant impact on how you live your daily life?
Well, to be honest, my regular life is, you know, pretty close now because I just make my choice to go on war. My family live abroad, to be honest, in one of European countries, not far from Poland, but not in Poland. The thing is that my family know my choice is hard. I got two kids. My son is only 3 years old and he missed his dad. And that's a hard choice. Now, when even I am in Kiev now, I am now having rest, I'm training. I also think that I'm in the war and I'm trying to develop my skills. I'm trying to do my best to be the best version of myself when it's gonna be work. When when I will go working. That's why when you're talking about my personal life, I don't have it. Even when now in a safe city, in the peaceful place, I always think about how should I do? How should I make my decisions to fight better? Every morning I wake up thinking, what did I do yesterday to develop my skills, to work harder? That's why, because my choice was very hard to leave my family. That's why I think it should have sense. That's
Right.
why I
So would you say that family is something that you miss the most when you're in the trenches, or do you think that you can't even afford to be thinking about that when you are gearing up for war?
Well, I think about my family, of course, especially a few times when I thought that I am doomed, that I will die. I always thought that how will my children be, but yeah, of course. And sometimes these things, they give me strength to stronghold, to keep going, and not to give up because I always thinking about them. But I understand that I'm pretty in danger and everything can just end very badly. But family, I think, mentally helps to do this. Yeah.
All right. Again, thank you so much for being here with us and being an inspiration. And of course, like you mentioned, we are indeed in a war for dignity and a fight for freedom. And I would like to believe that you're protecting not just Ukraine, but for your family and also the rest of us here at the eastern flank of NATO. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
input and insight.
I also, sorry that I interrupted you, but
No, no.
that's what I wanted to say. That I think that this war is much more than just war for independence of Ukraine. It's like West collide with East, and when we see how Putin comes to connection with, for example, we also understand that, for example, Northern Korea, they won't do nothing without China, and where there is a China, so there is a question maybe they're doing against the United States, who support the whole Western society. So it's like more global than some people may think, even in Western countries. That's why I have been a few times in NATO bases. I was trained there with Norwegians, with Lithuanians, and I always tell them that we are fighting together. And if we will lose, then you will go through. It's a big possibility, for example, for Poland, as it was historically after Russia invaded us. As you know, historically, they always went to Poland. So we're trying to keep to do our best and thank everyone for supporting us. I hope everyone in Western society understand that it's not an easy thing even to have some debates with Russia about stoppage. It's very hard because some people think that we have the possibility to stop this nowadays, but no, it's not. It's only small talks about that we can write some maybe like some bill, some I don't know this word in English. I'm sorry, I forget about like the document. Yeah, to sign some documents about safe and peace, but not nowadays. I think still we got plenty of job to do in saving our country and of course saving borders of Europe.
All right. Again, thank you so much for your service and thank you so much for holding the line and defending the rest of us. Really appreciate it. Thanks again for being with us on the Eastern Express.
Thank you.
And now we're moving on to the Eastern News Flash, a series of all the other stories from the East that you don't want to miss. Fredrik Vyacheslav, the chief advisor to exiled Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, was sentenced in absentia to 20 years imprisonment in a penal colony. The trial of the activist began before the Minsk City Court by the end of May 2024.
The verdict was handed down by a judge known for giving politically motivated sentences. The 35-year-old activist was charged with violating 9 articles of the Criminal Code, including inciting hatred and social hostility and organizing mass riots involving violence. In addition, he was sued in the interest of the state for compensation for property damage of more than 8.8 million euros caused by the illegal activities. Vyacheslav, who lives abroad, claims that the Belarusian court rejected his request to participate in the proceedings online.
EU officials approved a new package of sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. The measures are primarily aimed at closing loopholes in previous restrictions, as well as targeting Moscow's lucrative liquefied natural gas industry for the first time.
The new sanctions package includes measures to hold European operators accountable for sanctions violations by subsidiaries and partners in third countries, as well as a ban on the transshipment of Russian liquefied natural gas and helium exports. The new package also restricts access to dual-use technology and the trade of artworks stolen from Ukraine. According to the bloc's estimates, 4 to 6 billion cubic meters of Russian LNG were sent to third countries last year. Full details of the package will be made public next week after the measures are approved by EU foreign ministers, most likely on June 24th, ahead of next week's EU summit.
Romanian President Klaus Iohannis has withdrawn his candidacy to replace outgoing NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. Romania will therefore back the candidacy of Prime Minister Mark Rutte of the Netherlands, who is supported by all of the other 31 members of the alliance.
Iohannis' decision was announced after a meeting of Romania's Supreme Defense Council, during which the country's officials also decided to provide Ukraine with Patriot air defense systems, for which Kiev has long been pushing. On the 18th of June, Hungary and Slovakia announced their support for Rutte, leaving Romania as the only member of the alliance not to support the long-time Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Iohannis, a former physics teacher who will end his second term and final 5-year presidential term in December, announced in the spring that he would be running for the NATO post, which will vacate on October 1st. To support his candidacy, Iohannis argued that the alliance needed change and an Eastern European perspective in the face of Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine.
And that's all on this episode of Eastern Express. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.